All right, guys. Hey, Dr. Greg here. And on this episode of the Daily Dose with Dr. Greg, I have Allison Evans with me. Allison is the co-founder of an amazing company called Branch Basics. So we're going to do a deep dive into what they do. Allison, all the way from Houston, Texas. Good morning.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Dr. Greg. The running joke is that I had to reschedule this a couple of times, so I'm just thankful that he didn't give up on me.
When it's meant to happen, it'll happen, and we don't get too stressed out about the details, right?
I love it. I love it so
It's
much. And he's a
good.
lot colder than me right now because I'm due south in Houston and he's up north with where our company is based in Minneapolis.
It's
So
funny. I actually have an employee in small town Texas, and the running joke in our company, her name is Mary Beth. She's this sweet Southern belle. And I say, Mary Beth, from October 1st until May 1st, you're not allowed to tell me what the temperature
yeah.
is in South Texas. And she's just sweet about that. So I love it.
Uh,
Well, temperatures aside, the goal that I have for today and why this podcast exists is to empower people about the choices that they make. And the reality is there's so many choices to make that we want to give people the assets to go, hey, I'm choosing this as my, whether it's hair care products or cleaning products or supplements or foods, because I know that this makes a difference inside of my house. And the reality is this cleaning industry is literally the wild, wild west right now.
yeah.
They could care less whether they, I shouldn't say that. I'm not going to judge them. However, what we do know is a lot of the ingredients and a lot of the things that we're being exposed to on a day-to-day basis are literally bombarding hormones. They're damaging microbiomes, and they are not benefiting the health and welfare of our world. And you got kind of to learn the hard way, Alice. And I had a chance to listen to your story about that awesome standard American upbringing.
Oh, yes.
But again, things happen to us for a reason, right? So maybe give us kind of the dime store version, everything from like growing up and then into college, and then enter the angel named Mary Lee in your summer
Yes.
in her place. So kind of bring us up to speed as to how you guys got to where you are.
Yes, no, absolutely. And everything you said is so true in the beginning. I mean, these little choices add up, and that's really what we're about is never wanting to overwhelm people, because it can be overwhelming to think of, oh my goodness, my couch, my makeup, my deodorant, my dryer sheets. I mean, every single thing has the potential to, bring up or bring down in terms of the body. I mean, in terms of what we put in, on, and around our bodies. And so, there used to be just be such a focus on, you think health, you think food, but nowadays you really have to consider, gosh, what are these synthetic fragrances I'm bringing into my home via my trash bags,
Mm.
my children's shoes, my tampons, my candles, all of these
Right.
things. So we really just want to empower people to do what they can when they can, not get stressed, but know that with every choice they make, with every switch they make, with every alternative that they decide to use, that's free of these toxic chemicals, they are lowering this chemical soup in our home and therefore creating a safe environment for ourselves, for our families to heal, to rest, to restore. Because let's face it, we cannot control what we are exposed to outside.
I had a
To some
patient
extent we
yesterday.
can,
Right.
but it's really about coming back to a safe haven, um, and being able to give our bodies that break and choosing again, like the things we put in our mouth, whether it's supplements, whether it's, your dinner. I mean, we have control over the most important things, what goes in our mouth, what goes in our home's air. So just love what you said, had to reinforce that and agree, wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Um,
So bring us from did you grow up north of Austin on the ranch?
Yes, I did not. No, I did not. We actually just got back from living at my family does have a cattle ranch since 1905. We've owned our own cattle. And we lived there. My family moved there for 2.5 years. It happened. I got diagnosed with Lyme disease, which I'll go into in just a minute. The same week that COVID started. So we actually just thought, you know what, let's just get out of the city. This is crazy. And our kids are young, and we found this precious little Montessori school and a church down the street. There's no stoplights. So we did it. Yeah. And that was really great. We were back in very polluted, hot, humid Houston, surrounded by lots of family love. So we're happy to be back here. Um, But yeah, so I grew up here in Houston and just standard American everything. I was going back through a baby book my mom gave me, and it turns out her pediatrician told her that soy formula was better than breast milk. And so why would you continue to push through those nursing issues when we have found the answer to
Yeah.
feeding children? God had it wrong. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Right.
Um, but so yes, she was the amazing mom that shipped this, who knows what soy formula from across seas. So and then I lived on, supposedly I just ate scrambled eggs for like the second year of my life, and Eggland's best. So I was basically chock full of endocrine disrupting chemicals from the second I started walking. Um, but yeah, so I lived, and my mom actually sold perfume. So my house was full of synthetic fragrances. Yeah, I had no chance. And now of course my parents are all on board and they're all awake and all of the things. But I started getting body odor actually like when I was 4 or 5 years old. We went in for a well checkup, and my mom spoke with the doctor about it and just thought it was kind of interesting and didn't really say much about that. But then fast forward, I started my period at 13, which was normal. I'm surprised it wasn't earlier, to be honest. But then it never came back. So in high school, my mom was like, okay, well, we need to go figure this out. So went to the doctor. They did a sonogram, went to a fertility specialist here in Houston. They did a sonogram and said that it was the worst case of polycystic ovarian syndrome that this doctor had ever seen. So I had thousands of cysts over both of my ovaries.
Wow.
And I was told that I would never be able to get pregnant naturally. That would be impossible. I remember specifically, I think I was 16 or 17 maybe. And I remember specifically asking, is there anything that I can do about this? And it was just absolutely not. It's just, it's kind of the luck of the draw, that's genetic. And of course, now we've come so far. And even the people at this amazing fertility clinic, honestly, we've kind of come full circle, and they have now implemented all this integrative approach and holistic approach to healing, even PCOS. So that's really cool. So this was back in 2003. So I was put on birth control and told that that would be the answer, indefinitely, and basically to come in for checkups, but that when I wanted to get pregnant later, many years later, to come back and we could see kind of what modern medicine had, like the best method for that.
Wow.
So I owned it. I mean, I literally just owned it like a badge, like, oh, I'm a PCOS person. I'll never be able to get pregnant, So fast forward to college, a couple of years later. So I've been on birth control now for a few years, still eating, standard American diet, except I think I'd started being more conscious about my weight. So I started adding things like Splenda, 100 calorie packs,
Yeah.
non-fat Yoplait. I mean, guys, it's just Bath and Body Works, dryer sheets, all the things.
Yeah.
So there's hope for everybody listening. So fast forward to college, and I started coming down with this mysterious pain my sophomore year, and I went to see a chiropractor, massage therapist, and was diagnosed with things like, high stress, hypermobility, given some low dose, painkillers, and it kept getting worse and worse though. And by Christmas of, this would have been 2006, my sophomore year, I was in a lot of pain. And so I was now doing regular physical therapy. I was getting steroid injections in my low back. I was not able to sit through class for long periods of time without ice. I would literally carry this like traveling little mini ice chest in my backpack, and I would like ice my back. I would sleep on ice on my low back and both of my hips, to the point that I would wake up and I would have blood on my sheets, because the pain caused by the ice was better for me. For some reason, I could sleep through that pain better than I could sleep through the pain that my body caused. It's, crazy. But I started traveling the country, seeing the best specialists, or pediatric arthritis specialists or juvenile arthritis, up in Great Plains, New York, a trigger point specialist in Philadelphia. I mean, you name it. I was like this walking, file of EKGs and X-rays and
my gosh,
all the things. I lived at the pharmacy. I was on hydrocodone. I was on painkillers, muscle relaxers, antidepressants for sleep. Yeah, at 21. Um, and the sad part is that I just wasn't getting any better, and there was no agreed upon answer for what was going on. So my aunt comes into the picture, my, crazy Aunt Marilee out living in the hill country in Texas. Um, and I say crazy because she's the godmother of my children. She is my spiritual mentor. She is the co-founder of my company. I love her more than life. But at the time, growing up, I'm like, okay, so you shop at this thing called Whole Foods and like you eat beets and
Yeah.
like you don't really use a cell phone. Like what is happening over there?
Right.
But she had come from her own personal experience of
Her son
she
had cancer, right? Or
yeah,
something.
well, she was pre-med herself, and then she was able to learn about using food as medicine and actually helped save herself from getting a pending kidney transplant.
Wow.
And then fast forward many years, she has a son. Lots of things happened in that time period. She was the head chef of a macrobiotic resort in Jamaica. I mean, she started just learning more and more about materials. She became a material data specialist for consulting for home builds, working with contractors, working with people with children with behavioral disorders, everything from chronic migraines to ADD. I mean, all the things. Well, then her son at 10 years old actually gets exposed to chlordane at school, which is a now banned pesticide. Well, he became a bubble child. He was told by environmental specialists, you will never recover. Here's, basically get on these shots multiple times a day, put him in a safe place, but he's never going to be the same. It's her only child. And
My
she had something rise up in her like a absolute mama bear. And she said, I am so thankful that you're not God. In the most respectful way possible, because she knew that she was not going to be confined to the advancements of that day. She said, God is not in a box and he already knows what is needed to help heal my son. And so I'm accessing that.
so
And
grateful.
so she, for the next 7 years, she already had the food stuff kind of down, but it was this whole environmental aspect, which is really what led to us starting the company.
Right.
And she started experimenting on taking things out of his environment because he was so reactive. If you brought in a bag from Target, for instance,
Mhm.
his lymph nodes in his neck would just pop up like little BBs, like immediately. He would get horrible headaches. You had to whisper around him because the sound of your voice would be so painful for him. Doing basic stretches would just leave him in tears. He couldn't spell a three-letter word, walk a straight line. This was a brilliant boy that he just completely flipped. So she found taking things out of his environment little by little. He was recovering. They actually lived in a tree for a couple of years, like it had a tree house. But she basically watched him over those 7 years reverse through the autism spectrum because he did basically exhibit exactly what a child with autism would once he was exposed to those chemicals. And then it was severe ADHD, ADD, kept going back through it. Well, one of the most pivotal moments in that journey was about cleaning products. And this was really kind of the impetus of the company. But basically, she had this aha moment. She had taken everything out of her house, but she saved her favorite products, a lot of them being green, non toxic,
Right.
natural scents, blah, 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 and put them in a box and put them in a closet. So one day she had this epiphany. She thought about how when you go down the aisle of the grocery store and how strong that smell is, right? And that's just for us, right? You can have a blindfold on, you're on the cleaning aisle. Well, she's thinking about Douglas, her son, and how he is reacting to things on a parts per trillion, billion, million
Right.
level. And for him, maybe she's like, this is crazy. I know it's crazy. She didn't tell anyone she was doing it, but she removed the box. She's like, maybe there is something in that. Because the thing is, he couldn't stay in the house for more than 10 or 15 minutes before becoming extremely agitated and he would have to go back outside. So he comes in the next day to get lunch and he stays and he says, Mom, what did you do? She's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Just completely plays dumb.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to stay a little bit longer. I don't really feel bad. She's like, okay. So she did this for a couple of days because she even was like, there's no way that it was just this one box. So this is really the whole kind of mission that we have now is to help people identify sources of toxic chemicals that could be undermining our health on a super low level. But
Right.
over time, that it matters, and it can come out in everything from migraines to acne to agitation. I mean, we just don't know how these chemicals manifest and how they put pressure on our organs and how they slow our system down.
Yeah.
So sure enough, that was a big aha moment for her. And fast forward, I am now in college. This is many years later. I call her up, desperate,
Okay.
crazy Aunt Marilee, hey, it's your niece. And she's like, okay, I'm happy to help you, but you got to get off the birth control. Those are synthetic hormones. You got to stop the Splenda. Those are wrecking your system. She basically said, let's integrate real foods into your diet. Let's talk about no candles, no dryer sheets, no pesticides, stop highlighting your hair for a season. I'm thinking, wow, I'm like a sorority girl at University of Texas.
Wow.
But sure enough, I started making these little changes that she told me. Of course, I was in the kind of confines of the sorority house and living with other people. But even those little changes made the hugest difference for me. I was able to back off on a lot of my prescription medication. My sleep was better. The pain was more under control. I was able to graduate from the University of Texas. And upon graduation, all I wanted to do, and Kelly, who's my other co-founder, is my roommate during this time. So she's watching this whole thing play out.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? This is amazing, And so she and I begged Marilee to come live with her in the hill country in Texas. So we did. In 2008, we went out there. We thought, oh, we're just going to learn how to cook. And, what's an infrared sauna? The first day we get there, Marilee's like, have y'all ever had juice? We're like, oh, we love orange juice. She's like, no, like carrots, beets, ginger, kale, lemon. We're like, you're crazy, but let's do it, And this was back in, like I said, 2008. No one was juicing then.
No.
And so, sure enough, that summer completely changed our lives. I mean, not only me physically, I think I've taken a couple Advil since then. But I was pain-free. I had all this energy. My skin was glowing. This is 8 weeks of eating real food, getting off of our cell phones all the time. This is before really having smartphones too. Grounding, rebounding, infrared sauna, but mainly, Dr. Greg, it was the idea of being in her home that was free of all of these synthetic fragrances. You walk into a home like that and it just smells like an extension of the outdoors,
Exactly.
And so I truly believe that was the biggest shift. And so, fast forward, Kelly and I were like, all right, we got to get Marilee's brain on the internet. This is too simple. It's all about getting back to basics. And Kelly, there's either sick or you're smart, right? I was the sick one that got me into this. Kelly's a smart one. And Kelly has terrible menstrual cramps once a month, dry skin, itchy eyes, like all these kind of little things that she always thought were normal because everyone else has them. You take a Midol, and you skip class, whatever it is. And sure enough, at the end of the summer, all of those things, body odor even, had just left.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was really the summer that we started the company. I mean, it was right after that, 2009. We thought we have got to get this information out there. And we really started by selling like infrared saunas and organic mattresses or, air purifiers. I mean, we were a little ahead of our time. People thought we were kind of nuts. Cell phone protectors. And so anyway, I'm kind of going off of the business side, but to wrap up my health really is that I went back a year later to the same doctor I went to in high school. No cysts on my ovaries, except for maybe 3, 1 on an ovary and 2 on the other.
Yeah.
I kept living this lifestyle. Woke up one day, I had my period for the first time in my life on my own since 6th grade.
Yeah.
And we've tried 3 times. We have 3 girls. We had them all here at home.
Good.
So it was just, to me, no one can take my story away. It's one of those things that like, it's forever true to me. And it really is just, it totally exemplifies the power of pure.
Yeah. And I tell people, way too many college degrees and a believer in a creator. I tell people this, the body doesn't need help to heal. It just needs nothing in the way.
Get out of its way.
So like what's in the way? And when we look at chemicals and pesticides and herbicides and fragrances and sweeteners, and then in my world, we look at infection and these things, I'm like, we just have to just help clear the space because you are 75 trillion cells, wonderfully, amazingly put together. And this world has just like bombarded the path. So at what point did we get to like, okay, so we started selling cell phone protectors and infrared saunas, and then the cleaning products part entered in, and it obviously took hold. So kind of walk me through
Yeah.
that little journey.
Yeah. So the formula that my Aunt Marilee used with my cousin Douglas was our original formula. So we ended up basically contacting this chemist who Marilee knew pretty well through the years, because it was the only soap surfactant that he could use on his body without reacting, that they could use in the home without him reacting to inhalation. So it was like he was the ultimate canary in the coal mine, right? And so she was like, we have got to figure out how to zone in on this one product. People were overwhelmed with all the things we were selling. And so we ended up focusing in on this. Even from a business standpoint, people were like, okay, I can start with cleaning. I'm not overwhelmed by it. It's a good price point. Everybody cleans. I mean, sick, healthy, young, old, black, white, doesn't matter.
No matter.
You clean. And if you don't, there's like other issues there. And so that was really, what made us want to zone in on it. But then we ended up, so we sold it for 4 or 5 years. We private labeled it and ended up finding out that she had not been fully transparent about some of the plant-based enzymes. Like it was a little bit vague. And so thankfully we had third-party testing that proved that the formula was 100% safe, but we did not like that we could not be 100% honest. So we ended up pulling the product in 2015 off the shelf, or off our shelf, the figurative shelf. We actually were selling in several kind of mom and pop stores, but that was really tough. So the business basically shut down for 18 months. We had to let people go. I mean, we had been kind of rocking and rolling at that point in 2015. It was very, very hard. We ended up having our first babies in 2016 and launching our current formula now during that time. But really it proved that if we could just focus in on this one thing and use our product, it's never been about selling soap, right? It's always been about using this product as a vehicle to educate people on the importance of identifying these toxins in the home and removing them. So we really have become much more of kind of a lifestyle company, content machine when it comes to wellness, which is what we always wanted. That was the original idea. Kelly and I said in 2008, we would go on hours of walks through the week and we would say, we want Marilee's brain. I think we might have even called it the World Wide Web then. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we want Marilee's brain on the internet.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that's what's happened. When I scroll through our website, I was actually looking at some stuff this morning. I had this moment before the kids got up. I was sipping my coffee and I looked at this website and I'm like, I can't believe that this is ours. I can't believe that we can go to the learn section and that we have Marilee's head is here, like that with it. And there's 21 of us that have supported that effort. So I could go through a whole podcast and never talk about our product. It's amazing. I love it. If you use it, you understand it's hard to go back and it helps you replace some of the most toxic products in the home. That's why it's so easy and fun to sell it. But yeah, it's always been a vehicle for the
okay. Well, I'll tell you what, let's talk about the product, because one of the things, and I love this conversation, I had a patient say to me probably 15 years ago, Dr. Greg, who do you think you are, knowing what you know and not sharing it with everybody? And at that time there wasn't even Facebook or anything like that. So that this is, and part of it is I never want someone to ever say, hey, how come you didn't tell me about that? Or how come I didn't know?
That is what we've said. That's what Marilee's been saying for years. She goes, we have to start a company so that someday people will not say, why did you not tell me?
Exactly. So talk to us about maybe that product that you're talking about, and then maybe give like the top 3 things in a listener's home that they could literally like this for that with that one product.
Absolutely. So yeah, kind of the big mother product of our company is our concentrate. So it's a liquid concentrate. If people are familiar with something like Dr. Bronner's, it's basically that for the home, but you can also use it for your body. So it is just what it says it is. It's very concentrated. So we sell along with it empty bottles. So we have spray bottles, we have bathroom streak free and all purpose. We have a foaming hand soap bottle. We have a laundry bottle. These are all empty. when they arrive the first time and you're in the starter kit, and they have fill lines on each of their labels. And so you fill with water up to the fill line, and then it shows exactly how much of the concentrate you use in each bottle. And I'm doing this with my hands, although you can only hear me talk. So hopefully
This will be a video podcast also. So if a listener,
Oh, good. Okay. I didn't even know that. Well,
yeah,
probably would have blow dried my hair. Sorry.
it looks great.
Um, so that being said, it really does take the place of every product in the home. We used to say we can replace every product in your home except for your dishwasher detergent. And sure enough, we can now say that we have dish tabs. So we're really excited to say every cleaner in the home. So the biggest replacement for us, this may not be something that people are going to think I'm going to say, but it's your detergent, because what you choose to launder your clothes in, it's obviously not just your clothes, it's your sheets, your pillowcases, your towels, baby blankets, crib sheets, whatever it may be. You are absorbing those chemicals. Or I think there's a study that says there's 25 volatile organic compounds that come out of doing laundry, just a load of laundry. And so not only are you inhaling that, I mean, hopefully you have a good exhaust to your outside, but if you do not, your house is now being filled with these toxins, but you're absorbing it through your skin. So we always say, if you're going to start anywhere, please start trying our product as a laundry soap. But then we, of course, love using it as a dish soap. Now that I have not used the Dawns and the stuff like that, sorry to call out other companies, but that one, I do. It's so funny because when I go to someone's house, I mean, I can literally taste it on their plates and on the glasses. And so once you remove yourself from that, it's a product called unmasking. And so your body actually is going to become more sensitized to these chemicals. And you think, oh, well, why would I want to be sensitized? Well, you want to be sensitized because that's your natural red flag. That is your body saying, hey, look at me. There's something going on. I'm going to give you a headache. I'm trying to tell you, your skin's going to break out. I'm trying to tell you that there is something you need to remove or figure out, or there's a deficiency there. Of course, I'm preaching to the choir with you, Dr. Greg, but
to understand that, because, again, you are, so in my neurology training, there's 1 million bits of information every second that we process. And I go, that's crazy. And if you were aware of all of those, you'd sit in the corner and rock. The reality, though, is the body responds appropriately to its environment. And when we have that philosophy versus your body's stupid, I'm so sorry, here's some drugs on your way, then we get a curiosity. So you're telling me about this. So there's a listener right now that's like, oh, snap. I have the orange bottle of detergent in my laundry room, and I've been using that for years. And I'm convicted and convinced that this is a piece of fruit that I can pick for my family. Do I need to go in and like rewash every single little thing? Or like how would you encourage or talk that mom or dad through the introduction and how they could like maximize the benefit?
Love that question. So the first step is always source removal. So the first thing is very easy. Just stop using what you're using. So if it's dryer sheets, scented dryer balls, fabric softener, things like that, look at the ingredients. If there's any sort of caution, warning, danger, get it out. And we actually spell all this out very, very clearly in our Toss the Toxins, learn section. And you can identify which are the most toxic things in the home. Number one's pesticides, then synthetic fragrances, and we go through each thing, and it'll really help you figure out what you have, if you should continue using it, and then we give great replacements. Stop using it. And then if you have, unfortunately, when it comes to laundry, a lot of these chemicals are designed to impregnate themselves into the fiber of your clothes. So it will likely take several washes to completely get rid of those detergents that have been in there for perhaps many years, and those synthetic fragrances. But even with that first load of switching over, well, let me say this, back up. We have articles, and I can put these if you have show notes or
we'll
links.
Have show notes. You could put even this Toss the Toxins. I'm like, dude, I'm going to steal that, and I'm going to totally give credit.
Yes.
This dude.
Oh my gosh, please. We were actually just launching our online course in a month for a Toss the Toxins course. I'm really excited about that. But it's just the culmination of everything that we're about. Right. But we actually have articles specifically about detoxifying your laundry room. So your washer and your dryer, and it could include things like vinegar, things that are easy to get. This is not an expensive process. It will be some time, but it will be so worth it. And even just your favorite pieces of clothing and your sheets, you may even want to consider possibly getting new of the things that you have. Target now sells organic sheets, and you can get some off Amazon, just because those are just the ones you're breathing in every single day. If not, maybe just the pillowcase, buying some shirts to sleep in that don't have those detergents in them, and then even just like buying a pack of undershirts and then putting one over your pillow as a like temporary pillowcase while you're detoxing your pillowcases. If you have a bathtub or large sink, you can actually use our oxygen boost and our concentrate to soak these clothes. That is probably the quickest way to de-impregnate those clothes.
I've heard of this oxygen boost. And full disclosure, I have not tried your stuff yet, but I'm in.
Oh man, you're gonna just love it.
But my wife and I have 5 kids, and here's an example. Our oldest daughter is the #1 power lifter in the United States. She just signed a D1 scholarship to be a rower. My daughter can squat over 300 pounds. Our son is #1 in the state in Olympic lifting. So I'm like, yeah, I get this stuff, but we bring some nasty clothes into the laundry room.
Yes.
So my nurse practitioner, actually, Emily, she's amazing. And she was the one that really like, you guys got to get these guys on the podcast. So I asked her, I'm like, all right, here's the scoop. Like, we bring like athletic clothes. And she's like, Oxy Boost. Just use their boost product and you're good. And I was like, okay, good to hear.
Yes, there's a cycling studio in Austin, and then the University of Texas in Austin actually ended up catching wind of this. But basically, they had these disgusting towels from the cycling studio. People would just sweat their brains out, and you could just wring them out. And she said the only thing that I can get that smell out of, not Clorox, not all the stuff she was using, is our Branch Basics Oxygen Boost.
Let's go.
Yeah. So I'm very excited to stock your house after this podcast. I cannot believe I didn't realize that. We're going to get you.
And I'm just being super honest, right? I mean,
I love it.
Because we've tried some natural stuff before. And my wife is like, bro, like,
doesn't work.
It's not working. Yeah. So like, yeah, my wife is like, I will have clean clothes. Like she's the laundry.
Absolutely. Yeah. So laundry is first. Get those pesticides out and then head to your laundry room.
Yeah. So awesome.
And then source removal in terms of synthetic fragrances, the candles, the Glade plugins, any plugins, fragrance sticks. Those things are, mimicking our natural hormones. They attach to our hormone receptor sites. They throw off our hormone pathways. And what's amazing about our hormonal system, as you know, Dr. Greg, is that it really heals very quickly once those kind of predators are out.
Right. And yet, so the conversation I have, because I deal mostly with like chronic infection. I've worked with Lyme for 20 years. We test for infections, we test for toxins, and we've had many women that have been through our clinic that suffer from infertility, and statistically, 1/3 of women suffer from infertility. And I will say on the record that I'm pro baby. We have 5 babies. I love them. I will go home this afternoon and I will get tackled by a 5 and 8-year-old and say, Daddy's home, and I love it. And then I was telling my producer that I wrestled my 15-year-old last night. He's almost 16, and I need to make sure I'm staying in the gym because that kid's strong as an ox.
I was going to say, yeah, I'd be careful with your kids. Sounds like
well, I'm 250 girl, so I'm an
superhuman.
I'm an old football dude. So the point though, as we're going, is just this ability to really understand big picture and the impact it has, globally on our families. So I'm just excited about it's really about the education. It's really about not letting someone say, I never knew about that.
Yeah.
The reality is, once people are aware of Branch Basics and what you guys are doing and who you are and what you stand for, they're like, yeah. And then that the juice is worth the squeeze, right? That you have the product that will do the job. And then you make it easy for them to have it in their house. You make it easy for them to know how to use it. And then that is so awesome. So I'm excited for you guys as you are just being that person, because you're respectfully, you guys are up against some big shooters, right? You guys are up against some big dollar brands. And I always love when we're called alternative, right? We're called alternative when we use like plant enzymes and breath work and grounding and nutrition, and traditional is, synthetics and those things that just don't make sense.
I could just go off. I'll just leave it at that.
To circle back, was this conversation of fertility. Again, 1/3 of couples suffer from infertility. And some of the most unwell women that present to me with chronic infections are the ones that have had fertility forced upon them. Because I believe the body, remember we said the body responds appropriately to its environment. So if the body is saying, hey, right now, conception and carrying a baby is not the right thing for my body. And it's not the right thing because I am dealing with a lot of other things right now. And
Well, and I mean, as I understand, it's the first thing to go and the last thing to come back, because it's the one system in our body, our reproductive system, that we do not need. It is there for procreation. And so as a protection, it can shut off. And honestly, I am the perfect example of this. I had made all these changes. I was living this way for, let's see, a solid 3 years. And I wake up one morning and my menstrual cycle had returned.
right.
And it was such an amazing answer to me, because I could have forced that. I could have
100%.
done all the things. I could have had 3 babies by then, but I was so strong in my conviction that when my body was ready, when it was healed, that I would bleed. I mean, I hate to put it that way, but I knew it. I knew it beyond a shadow of a doubt. And sure enough, I have not had a cramp. I have no sign of my period coming. Sometimes that's a bad thing, but it's unbelievable. I'm like, this is what it's like.
I want listeners to hear that it took 3 years, because this world's like, hey, take 2 of these and tomorrow morning you're going to be perfect and great. And that's where I tell people, trust the process.
Yeah.
It's not
and look, it's not just about you. Those 3 years got me my babies, and I'm not saying they got me my babies like 10 fingers and 10 toes. I'm saying my kids are strong. They get over sickness so quickly. We've never taken an antibiotic in our house. I mean, not to say that there isn't a place for that sometimes, but the point is, I truly believe that what I did in those years leading up to conception was a direct investment in my kids' future. And I have 3 daughters. I was investing in their children,
Absolutely.
So
That's so good. Hey, we're going to pump the brakes for just a second. We're going to do a little commercial break, and then we'll come back.
Hey everyone, we hope you're enjoying today's episode of The Daily Dose with Dr. Greg. On today's episode, Doc is joined by none other than Allison Evans, the co-founder of Branch Basics. We just want to shout them out real quick. Go check out their website at branchbasics.com. For more information, you can also check out our show notes. Also, if you're looking to work with Dr. Greg, Vitae Clinic, or Emily Anderson, our hormone expert, head over to vitafm.com or click the link in this episode's show notes to book an appointment.
So Allison, it's obvious that we're being surrounded by things. I mean, talking about, and I have 3 girls, and I remember a patient saying that she got her period at 9 years old, and then I started asking her questions, and her dad worked at a paint factory.
Wow.
So just these things that can happen, and respectfully, you don't need to have a bunch of symptoms. Regardless of whether you have a symptom or not, these things have an impact. There's not a gene that says you're immune to these dyes and these solvents. Like, they have an impact, like it or not. And either they're going to get you now or they're going to get you later. So the listeners, you can now no longer say, how come I didn't know about an option that was out there? So we talked about the original formula. We talked about that's the low-hanging fruit for people to grab and rock and roll. And just even about the company, like where do you see Branch Basics like in 5 years from now?
Oh, goodness. I try to just stay focused on kind of the here and now. And when we want to go there, our CEO and CFO will lovingly say, just keep your head down. Keep your head down.
Are you more of a visionary mindset, or are you more like operationally minded?
Definitely not operation. Kelly and I are just more on the marketing, educating, trying to get face-to-face, getting the message out there. Like I said, we're about to launch our Toss the Toxins course. So by the time this is aired, I'm not sure when this is going to be aired, but we might have already launched it. So it's going to be around March, late March.
Yeah.
And we want to go tell the world about it. I want to meet with people face-to-face around the country and talk to them about this amazing power we have of removing toxins. And I just have to share, I know we have a few more minutes, but I have to share this story because it just reminded me what you just said about your daughters, and you had a patient that started her period at 9. I'm seeing that over and over. So I actually have a customer / friend that had reached out to me a few months ago, and she has a 6-year-old daughter, and she noticed that her daughter was developing coarse pubic hair at 6, or maybe it was just before 6.
Yeah.
So they go to the doctor, and she uses Branch Basics. They have, the organic mattresses and the air purifiers, and lives the life. And so she goes to the doctor, and she's just like, what's happening? The doctor said, there's really nothing we can do about this. We can just monitor it, and we can take, do a hormone panel and just watch it. There's nothing you can do, but it's not, it's not good, but there's nothing you can do. So she reaches out to me, and I'm like, oh, heck yes, there's something you can do. I want to talk about your products. I want to talk about what she is, smelling, what's in her room.
Right.
I go, you can have all these foundational products in your home, but what are there? Candles? Are there bath bombs? Are there these shoes, like I mentioned earlier, these shoes that have, injected fragrances in them? And she said, Allison, you're right. Like all these gifts that we give, I mean, the Christmas gifts and so many scented items. So even though I realize they're not great and I don't buy them, we're allowing them in our home.
Right.
So she removes them. Okay. 2 months later. So this was in October. In December, she calls me. They just got back from the doctor. She goes, I thought that what you said could be true in terms of stopping growth. She goes, it's gone. Like the pubic hair is gone. Hormones are normal.
So
This was 2 months of just getting rid of the extras.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, it's little things add up.
It does.
And this should feel so empowering to those that are listening.
I love that. What I heard was that friend of yours just like assured Operation Grandma inside of that, right? And 3 clinics ago, we've moved a bunch because we've grown a bunch. I wrote on a whiteboard in my office, I said, we create epic family reunions. And when I think about, by the way, I love that you don't know what's happening 5 years now, because my son, like, where are you going to be in 5 years? I'm like, the Lord knows, I don't know. And I'm going to put my nose down and work hard and be obedient. And kind of my thing when I think about like direction, I always say, like, if God puts a door in front of me, the act of obedience is to grab the handle and give her a good old pull. And if it's locked, more pulls don't help. Though if it's open, I pull that baby open and I step through, and I'm with curiosity and an open mind. I look around and I say, what's here and where are the other doors?
Amen.
And I think, there's a pressure as a visionary to say, this is exactly where we're going to be. And then what I can tell you is the greatest gift of this business has been honoring the operations and honoring those people that are boots on the ground and they know the steps of it. So I love it. Well, Allison, it's been so fun to chat with you. I'm so grateful that we were able to reschedule and here we are, right? So it's obviously meant to be, and I'm grateful for who you are and what you guys stand for, and I truly appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. I feel like I could talk for another hour. This is so great. Hopefully we'll get to meet in person one day, and thank you all for listening.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much.